Fumiya Suguri.
And at 25 years of age, she's the elder statesman in any women's competition these days. I think, you know, with the success of skating in Japan and the popularity, that's encouraged Fumiya to stay in the sport. Many people thought she would retire last year after winning the silver medal at the World Championships. She is such a fine, delicate skater with big, gutsy jumps.
Especially looking in her rearview mirror right now at some of these kids in Japan who are so good. But the popularity of this sport in Japan, too, and you can go back through the years. I mean, maybe at the height of its popularity right now, but there were some great skaters from the past. One of the best jumpers in the history of this game. Back in 1984, Midori Ito stayed in the rink, by the way.
How delightful to look back at her performances. She was just a little jumping bean. If you remember the Olympic Games in Albertville, she jumped right over the boards and into a cameraman, apologized, and got back on the ice and continued.
That was back in 1984. Brian Orser won, by the way, that year as well, and really put Japanese women skating on the map. Then came Yuka Sato, but now just this long line of young Japanese skaters, including the one right now to beat Mao Asada. And there, look in the crowd, Shizuka Arakawa, the Olympic women's champion, along with Takeshi Honda, working television now. How popular is Japanese figure skating? Last week at Skate America, the ratings, 24 million people watched one show. That's almost as many as that watch our show. 24 million. And yes, in the land of the rising sun, fast becoming the land of the rising skaters.
We always had great skaters. Midori, Yuka, and Shizuka, and a lot of good skaters. But it was every 4 years, right? So now it's a time after the Torino and new generation coming up. But all of a sudden, everyone's good.
The power shift has been quick and stunning. From Russia to the Far East, Japanese figure skating has taken a quantum leap in recent years, and they now own the singles world by a large margin.
They get a large number of really young, talented skaters, identify them, and they spend a lot of money on them.
We will skate with the public skaters and go through between us other skaters and do the jumping, and that's how we learn jumping, right? And we don't really care where we jump and how we jump. We just have to practice.
If someone isn't successful, we always say it's the samurai sword rule. They're gone, and the next one's in.
Shizuka Arakawa left as Olympic champion, but hasn't left the women weaker. Japanese women go 4 deep on the world stage, all ranked in the ISU top 10. Fumiya Suguri was second at last year's Worlds, and Japanese women accounted for half of the top 6 at Skate Canada. On the men's side, Daisuke Takahashi had 5 podium finishes last season. Canadians should be familiar with these stars, as many, like Nobunari Oda, have come to Canada to train, with one stop being the Mariposa Club in Barrie.
In our program 3 summers ago, we had 15 Japanese skaters come and train. They were all probably between 10 and 12 years old. At this point in time, a lot of the Japanese skaters train in North America.
With their recent success as a precursor, and with 2010 in Vancouver on the horizon, don't be surprised if the Olympic sun rises over the Far East.
Well, how popular is skating in Japan? Again, this is just a practice session, and they are beaming back right now. And huge hordes of Japanese media. Obviously, they have some stars in the baseball world like Ichiro and Hideki Matsui. But skating is so very popular. And why, in your mind, do you think, just forget about the popularity for a second, talk about the greatness and the champions that they have produced?
Well, I think competition breeds success. It raises the bar, and these skaters know that to get out of their country, they have to be superb. They are not guaranteed a spot on the world team. We're looking at Fumiya Suguri, who's the world silver medalist, and her focus is on earning a spot to go to Worlds, not winning the World Championships, just getting there. Interesting, they talked about in the feature the fact that so many of the Japanese skaters are training in various sites around the world, other countries. And after the Olympic Games in '98, there was a big legacy fund established to send skaters not only away to train, but also kids at the novice level, junior level around the world to compete, to start gaining experience. Fumiya Sagure is one of the few Japanese skaters that lives and trains at home in Japan. And she's coached by Nobu Sato, who is the father of Yuka Sato, a former world champion. So she stays at home. The problem with training in Japan is the fact that ice time is so limited. She gets 2 sessions a day. There's her coach watching on. 1 session, she's on her own. She can train her programs, the jumps. Her other session, there's about 40 other skaters there, so she has to find a corner to work on her spins or spirals. Mr. Sato is known for his great technical coaching ability, and if you watch Fumiya skate, she covers the ice with effortless ease.